Top 28 Dubai Live, 1.5 Media, Innovators Magazine, Allied4Futures. We're here in front of the most beautiful backdrop. You see the scrolls on the side with tons of names. I've got a good friend from Future Horizons and from other events. Angela, I'm so glad that you're here, and I'd like you to introduce yourself, all your organizations, because I don't think you're just doing one thing. I think you're doing a lot of things. But more importantly, after you do that, why in the heck are you here at COP? Green zone, blue zone, why?
Well, really glad to have run into each other at COP. So my work, I'm the co-founder of Future Horizon, which is a global network of leaders. To put it simply, our focus is leveraging community to be able to influence leaders to make better and good decisions, which inevitably leads to better collaboration. I also have two other hats. One is as the founder of Common Futures, which is a design think tank, and our focus is really trying to create actionable visions of the future where human, nature, and technology are in symbiosis. Finally, I am the founder of Amanu, which is an indigenous-led storytelling initiative whose focus is really documenting the oral history of origin of different communities in their language in order to promote cultural preservation and rediscovery. So why am I at COP? I guess the answer to that is really in alignment with my mission. And what I think my mission is at the present moment is really to try to redesign the world, to try to create a more meaningful and shared future. Being here at COP and with the different organizations that I have, like one thing that's really, really clear is a lot of discussions are happening. And a lot of these high-level discussions, obviously, a lot is on the line. But one thing that's resoundingly clear, I mean, just earlier you were battling a barrage of noise from a protest. Protests, a lot of the negative media that we're receiving right now is really coming and accumulating in the collective mindset and the collective consciousness. And we need to move in a more positive direction. And positivity only goes up to a certain degree. This is why with Common Futures, we focus on creating actionable future vision. So helping people to really envision what does it look like once we get to that point, and how do you participate in it now?
Just a few things, so that I'm glad you are so involved. We actually did your event this year in Sintra, Portugal. Not only the most beautiful location, a great experience, wonderful people. A lot of those people are here at the COP in the green zone and the blue zone on side events outside of the COP. So I really thank you for that, and I'm glad that our paths have crossed again and that we can talk here now. We're at the COP asking a few questions. The first one is this glass half full, which is the optimistic perspective. The glass half empty is the pessimistic or negative view. I want to know, what's your COP half full perspective so far now that you've seen things and been in both zones, and kind of how's it working on you?
You know, I originally wasn't going to come to COP, and it was due to an invitation from partners at the IPCC to talk about ancestral knowledge and climate change that actually sparked a bit of optimism in my mind. The IPCC, right, the leading organization that I call it, am I allowed to speak French?
Sure.
They produced the report, I call it the How Fucked Are We report. And they're preparing for the AR7, and they're actually looking to, meaningfully engage and include ancestral knowledge. And suddenly there was a spark in my mind of a shift, and it was a good sort of motivator to come. And I'll tell you, I had a glass half full perspective, or half empty perspective, and now it's half full. And I think it really, like, when you come to COP, if you're not a negotiator, if you're not one of those people who are involved in the more high level, you have to think about who are you engaging in? Why are you engaging with them? And like, what is it that you're actually trying to create? And I think if those are aligned and you're coming from the right intentions, both personally but also professionally, I think that you can make very good use of why you're here. Which is really interesting, because in COP27 we actually produced this big event. And this time around, you know, it's more to like listen, observe, and have these really strategic meetings that have measurable outcomes and things that will follow up and next steps. So I will say it's half full, but I will say also, using another metaphor, that we are currently on, and this isn't my metaphor, I take it from actually a community member of Future Horizon. We are on a boat, and our boat is sinking. And so we're trying to bail out the water, but what we really need to do is plug the hole. So one of the main things that we're all here at COP right now talking about is the complete phase out of fossil fuels. And so that boat is the metaphor of what we need to do. We need to plug those holes before even considering how we can take out the water, right? Take out what it is that is affecting us.
The last and hardest question I have for you is the old Bucky question, Buckminster Fuller. It's been around for over 70 years. He played it at another expo, the Montreal, Canada Expo at 1967, the World's Fair in Montreal. In the geodescent dome that he built. That's not a geodescent dome, but it's also a dome. They played this inside his dome, the World Game. And in there, they played the World Game trying to answer the questions from people from all nations of the world. What does a world that works for everyone look like for you? And tell our audience what that is.
Sure. For me, a world that works for everyone, which is really why I'm doing what I'm doing, is really one where love is the primary value, and people are able to seek out moments of joy that they can bring into their lives. And on a more practical level, really a world that works for everyone is one where people are able to find meaning in living that life. And through that meaning, really being able to pursue everything and anything that feels aligned with that. Maybe it's a bit too much on the consciousness side, but that's what I believe.
There is no too much consciousness side or too much esoteric side.
I think I find myself measuring it at COP to see, like, it's very different when you're in like our communities, I would say, but in COP, I do find myself still measuring that out and not fully, I guess, speaking about that. It's an interesting
Well,
one.
I'm glad that you let us all inside of your ideas and you're giving us the honest view. Before we say goodbye, are there any special messages that you would like to give our audience of what you see for a future as a futurist, as what you want to do?
Yeah, I think it's two messages if I can. One is, it's really important for us to be able to preserve, document, and enable the discovery when it comes to ancient knowledge, indigenous practices, etc. But we should not be seeing there as a divide between the ancient and the modern. In order for us to really be able to see and create the future, those two need to come together, because those are two important components for being able to get to that point. And finally, I think I already kind of touched on this, but in order for us to be able to move ahead, like really, we need to think about from where our actions are coming from. Are we just having sort of knee-jerk reactions, or are we actually taking the moment to think about what is a good decision, what is a good design, what is going to be a good future, and coming from that point instead of the ego, because there is a lot of ego that exists within this particular within these particular communities. So I think it's really important to tap into where you're coming from, because that will inevitably affect what it is that you put out and create in the world.
1.5 Media, Innovators Magazine, COP28, Dubai Live, Allied4Future. More beautiful location, more beautiful woman I couldn't have. Thank you so much.